Here's a retelling of the story set in Buckskin, Arizona, autumn 1877, condensed to approximately 2,300 words while preserving the emotional depth, vivid imagery, and key events of the original narrative. The story follows Joanna Monroe's journey from abuse to freedom, her daughter's hope, and Jesse Granger's quiet heroism, culminating in a powerful tale of redemption and love. The desert town of Buckskin, Arizona, lay cloaked in the heavy dusk of autumn 1877. The air was thick with the scent of mesquite and whiskey, the silence broken only by the creak of wagon wheels and the coarse laughter spilling from the saloon. Buckskin was a place where law bowed to coin, and mercy had long withered under the relentless sun. At the edge of town, in a sagging clapboard house, Joanna Monroe, 28, lay trembling on a straw mattress, her damp hair clinging to her pale face. In her arms rested a swaddled newborn, tiny fists clenched, crying for life. It was a girl, her third daughter in 5 years. The door slammed open. Hank Monroe, broad-shouldered and reeking of whiskey, lurched inside, his boots tracking mud across the floor. "What is it?" he growled. "Tell me it's a boy." Joanna's lips quivered. "It's a daughter, Hank." "A beautiful." His hand struck before she could finish, snapping her head to the side. "Another useless mouth," he roared. "3 girls. What good's a wife who can't give me a son?" In the corner, Joanna's 2 older daughters, 5-year-old Sarah and 3-year-old Lila, clung to each other, eyes wide with fear. The newborn's cries grew sharper. Hank's rage swelled. He kicked over a water pail, shoving Joanna back onto the bed, nearly toppling the infant from her arms. "You curse me, woman," he spat. "You're nothing but a burden." His fist fell again, splitting her lip. Outside, a neighbor paused by the fence, catching the silhouette of violence through the open window. He heard the cries, the blows, but quickened his pace. In Buckskin, no one meddled in another man's home. Joanna was thrown into the yard, landing on her knees, blood streaking her face, arms cradling the newborn. Sarah and Lila crept out, sobbing, their small hands tugging at her to rise. That was when Jesse Granger saw them. Jesse, a widower driving a wagon of feed sacks back to his ranch, pulled his horse to a stop. His dark eyes, shadowed by grief, took in the scene. Joanna crumpled in the dirt, the girls trembling beside her. He dismounted, boots sinking into the dust as he crossed the yard. Hank loomed in the doorway, bottle in hand. "Get out, Granger," he slurred. "This is my house, my wife. None of your concern." Jesse didn't look at Hank. His gaze fixed on Joanna, her swollen face, her shaking arms, her hopeless eyes. The girl's soft whimpers pierced the air. His jaw tightened. He'd seen cruelty before, but this, beating a woman who'd just given birth, stirred something deep within him. His voice rang out, calm but unyielding. "If birthing daughters is a crime in this place, then let me raise them proud." The words hung heavy, silencing the street. Hank blinked, stunned, the bottle wavering in his hand. Onlookers froze, their whispers fading. No one laughed now. Joanna clutched her baby tighter, her eldest daughter slipping her hand into Jess's as if she'd known him forever. In that moment, Buckskin held its breath. Jess's wagon rattled down a narrow trail, the lantern light of his ranch glowing against the low hills. Joanna sat in the back, aching from Hank's blows, her daughters huddled close. She didn't trust Jesse. Men always wanted something: control, submission, ownership. He was just playing the savior for the crowd, she told herself. The wagon stopped before a weathered ranch house, the scent of hay and horses drifting from a nearby barn. "You can go inside," Jesse said gently. "There's food, clean water. You'll be safe tonight." Joanna's swollen lip throbbed as she met his gaze with suspicion. "Why? What do you want from us?" "Nothing," he replied, his voice steady. "You need a place. That's all." He carried the lantern to the porch, opened the door, and stepped back. "It's your choice, Mrs. Monroe." Sarah tugged at her sleeve. "Mama, please," she whispered. Joanna rose slowly, guiding her girls inside. The cabin smelled of wood smoke and iron kettles, a place of honest living. A small fire crackled, a pot of beans simmering. Jesse set out blankets and a basin of warm water, then took his coat. "I'll be in the barn," he said. "You'll rest easier without me here." He closed the door softly behind him. Joanna sank to her knees by the basin, tears stinging her eyes. Her daughters dipped cloths in the water, dabbing her bruises with care. That night, after feeding the baby and tucking the girls in, Joanna sat by the fire, unable to sleep. Through the wall, she heard Jesse in the barn, hay rustling, a horse shifting, the low strum of a guitar. Sarah stirred. "Mama, I can't sleep." Before Joanna could respond, Jess's voice drifted through the doorway, telling a story of a star that burned through storms, guiding travelers home. The girls listened, their eyes heavy with wonder, until they drifted off. Joanna sat rigid, her heart unsteady. Could a man truly be kind without wanting to possess? The thought frightened her more than Hank's fists. Days passed, and Joanna's suspicion lingered. She watched Jesse closely, waiting for the moment he'd reveal his true intent. But he kept his distance, tending to the ranch, teaching the girls small tasks, how to feed the chickens, how to tie a knot. One evening, Joanna's eyes strayed to a shelf of worn books. Jesse noticed. "You read?" She hesitated. "I used to, before I married. My mother taught me letters." But Hank, he tore the pages, said learning made a wife arrogant. "My only purpose was to bear him a son." Jess's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent. Then he spoke softly. "My wife, Rebecca, loved books. She laughed at how slow I was with words but never shamed me. When she died after our son was born, I buried her under the cottonwoods. Fever took him 3 years later. I prayed, but no prayer brought him back." Joanna lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry." "Don't be," he said. "We all carry ghosts." One night, Joanna stepped outside for air and heard a lullaby from the barn. Peering inside, she saw Jesse filing a horseshoe, sparks glinting, while the baby slept in a basket. His rough hands tucked the quilt higher around her, his voice soft and steady. Joanna's chest tightened. No man she'd known showed tenderness without expecting something in return. Tears spilled down her cheeks, not from pain, but from the unbearable weight of hope. A dust storm churned as 4 riders thundered to Jess's ranch. Hank Monroe, flask glinting, bellowed, "Joanna, bring those girls out. I'll drag them home myself." Inside, Joanna clutched her daughters, tears falling but her back straight. Jesse stepped from the barn, carrying a blacksmith's hammer, not a gun. He leaned against the gate, calm as stone. Hank sneered. "You think you're better than me, Granger." Jess's voice was steady. "I don't know about better. But under my roof, no child's called a burden. They're people." A hired gun laughed, reaching for his revolver. Jesse dropped the hammer, the iron clanging, and stepped forward. "Draw if you want," he said, eyes cold. "But the man who fires first won't walk away." The gunman froze, his hand falling. Townsfolk gathered, their silent presence heavy. Hank's bravado faltered. "This ain't over," he muttered, riding off with his men. Joanna watched from the doorway, her daughters clinging to her. She'd seen Hank's cruelty, but never a man protect with conviction, not violence. For the first time, she felt safe. Days softened into something new. Jesse taught the girls to build a kite, their laughter rising as it soared. In the evenings, he spread paper and charcoal, praising their clumsy drawings, telling stories of brave women who shaped the world. Joanna listened, stunned. No one had spoken of women as more than wives or mothers. One afternoon, she touched a book of fables on Jess's shelf, whispering its title. That night, he gave her a notebook with the book's opening story in his rough hand. "I remembered you liked it," he said. Joanna read aloud, her voice halting but growing steady, and Jesse listened as if every word mattered. When a fever struck her, Jesse brought tea and a warm cloth, his hands gentle. "Why do you do this?" she asked, voice cracking. He paused, eyes lowered. "Because I hoped someone would have done it for my wife. But no one did, and then it was too late." Joanna's hand brushed his, a fleeting touch that spoke of shared scars and quiet trust. No promises, no demands, just understanding. One gray morning, Joanna sat at the table, a letter smudged with ink beside her. She'd written it in the night, convinced happiness wasn't for her. She slipped outside, shawl tight, unable to wake her daughters. But as they stirred, they sat silent on the porch, faces blank with worry. Jesse found the note, read it, and took a silver locket from a box, his wife's, holding a strand of hair and a faded ribbon. He crouched before Sarah. "Take this to your mama. Tell her it belonged to a woman who deserved a full life. Tell her she does, too." Joanna had paused down the road, her feet heavy. Sarah ran to her, holding the locket. "Mama, don't go. Jesse says you deserve to live pretty." The words broke her. Joanna stumbled back, collapsing into her daughter's arms, the locket warm in her hand. Jesse stood in the doorway, silent, not claiming her, only reminding her she was worthy. For the first time, she believed it. The Buckskin courthouse was packed when Hank's petition was heard. He claimed Jesse had stolen his wife and children, demanding their return. Jesse stood, admitting he'd sheltered them. "If that's theft, I'm guilty." The judge's gaze sharpened. And the woman, has she no say? Joanna rose, her voice clear. For years, I was beaten for birthing daughters. I wasn't allowed to read or speak. I was a tool, not a wife. I wasn't stolen, I was saved. Mrs. Agnes Whitfield, the elderly librarian, stood. Joanna's not Hank's to lose. She's her own, she's taught our children, shown our daughters they're more than burdens. Other women stood. A rancher's wife, a laundress, a teacher, each testifying to Joanna's kindness. The judge struck his gavel. A wife isn't cattle to be reclaimed. Joanna Monroe is free to choose where she belongs. Case dismissed. The crowd erupted in applause. Joanna's daughters clung to her, seeing their mother anew. Jess's eyes met hers, a silent acknowledgement of a world forever changed. That spring, under an old apple tree bursting with blossoms, Joanna and Jessie stood together. She wore a simple muslin dress, a veil stitched by her daughters. The town gathered, bringing food and flowers, their presence a quiet reverence. Joanna spoke, her voice